My name's Paul. I'm a stoma nurse by trade. Still am a stoma nurse, still am a registered nurse, and my primary role is to educate stoma care nurses. And that's educating them with all of the latest updates and the latest best practice. But the lovely Samantha, as you all know, and Brian often ask me to do lots of work for the UA, and you guys are you're my secret passion. I love you guys over all of them. I don't tell any of the other associations, but you guys are my favorite. So shh, don't tell them. It's like having a favorite child. Okay. So what I want to talk to you today about is as the title slide says, it's mindful searching. And all of you, I'm sure, have heard the term artificial intelligence, heard the term AI. And what I want to do today in the next 5-10 minutes is really just take you through some do's, some don'ts, and lay a little bit of hopefully put your mind at rest. So, Scott, can we go to the next slide? Okay. So, just in case any of you don't know exactly what AI is here. It's not something that's in the future. It's not something that's all Star Trek and Star Wars and, you know, in someone's imagination. AI is here, and it's actually been here a lot longer than we think. And AI is just that. It's artificial intelligence. So it means that some very, very clever person has written a load of code that makes it sound like it knows what it's doing. Okay, it doesn't know anything. All it does is it predicts, like it says here, predicts patterns in data. So a blink of an eye, it will grab a load of information from the entire World Wide Web and give you an answer to what to what you've asked it. And it is trained to sound confident, and that's the big thing. It's trained to sound confident, which doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. Okay, my 12-year-old daughter can sound incredibly confident, but then when I test her on her spellings, no. Okay, so and it's just like that. Okay, and understanding that it's not infallible, it can make mistakes, and it does make mistakes. And one of the things I want to tell you very quickly at the start of this is all of this presentation was written on AI. And I did that on purpose because what I wanted, I can normally write a load of slides this size in about an hour and a half, but everything from the titles to the images to the text I've done on AI, and it took probably about 4 times longer because as I would put each prompt in, it would give me 90% of it would be right, but then there'd be a sentence that was just not right. And I'd have to go in again and say, are you sure about this sentence? And it'd come back with me going, oh, I do apologize. You're right. And then I'd have to correct it. So every single slide I wrote for this took me about 4 or 5 different prompts with AI to generate it until... And it would have been quicker for me just to write it myself, but I wanted to prove that it can work and it does work, but you have to be in control of AI. Okay, so Scott, next. There we go. And whenever you're looking at AI, and AI can slip in more, and you don't even have to go onto Copilot or ChatGPT or anything like that. It's amazing how AI actually slips in without you knowing it. I don't know whether any of you have ever done a Google search or a Bing search recently, but you get a little text box at the top, first of all. And that's AI. That's AI saying it takes your prompt that you've put into your search engine and it will come up with, and it'll answer your question, and then it will give you the web pages. Now that's AI, and that can be very, very wrong. And what I would say, there's a few clues that you can do, you can think about when you're looking at AI and you're doing a search and it comes up with an AI answer, or you're using any AI engine. And you need to be cautious if it sounds certain with no nuances, especially within healthcare. Because if I asked you, all of you guys, a question, have you ever asked a healthcare professional, be a doctor or a nurse, and they've given you a straight answer? If any of you say yes, then I want to meet that healthcare professional, because we always say yes, but, or yes, however, or That's not the easiest question to answer. There's always little nuances around what we say because we know there's so many variables. But AI doesn't like variables. AI will give you this is the answer. Okay. If it gives you no source or links, so if it gives you a bit of information, but it doesn't say where it's got it from, you've got to be cautious. And again, like whenever you've spoken to a nurse or a doctor, we very rarely say always or never because you guys, you're not textbooks. You're not, we can't put you in these little boxes. Everybody's different. So we can never say always or never. Okay. It's like leaks. I'm sure all of you have never been told by a stoma nurse, you will never leak. Because no matter how good your seal is on your bag, you can, it happens from time to time. We don't like it when it does, but unfortunately it does happen. And again, another one is if it makes big claims in a very simple way. So again, just be careful of that. And the sign of any good AI will always ask you to clarify certain parts of a question. And if it doesn't ask clarifying questions, again, it might not have actually fully understood what you were asking it. Okay, so they're the clues where you might just need to be a little bit more cautious if any of those 5 things come up. Okay, Scott, the magic button, there we go. So it sounds like I've got a bit of a downer on AI. I haven't at all, because AI can be really, really helpful to you. So, and again, it's a rhetorical question, but who's ever received a letter from the hospital, a doctor or a nurse, and you open it up and you can read about every 5th word, and every so often you go, what on earth does that mean? What does that mean? AI is fantastic. And if you get a digital letter, as long as you don't put any of your personal information in, you can almost highlight it and say, what's this in real terms? And it will actually break down a lot of those terms for you and give you the actual thing. So it's almost like doing a Google search, but in one place. So it's brilliant for clarifying terms in letters. But also you can do things like if you've got a clinic coming up, an appointment coming up, and you say, I don't know what questions to ask. If you've got a hernia or you're experiencing this or experiencing other things, you can actually go into AI and say, I've got an appointment coming up with my consultant about XYZ. What questions could I ask him? And that's a brilliant way, and it will give you this list. So it's not something it's not information that it's giving you. It's kind of almost advice, but it's supporting you. It's supporting your thought process. And because it's a computer, because it doesn't see things in the gray, it sees things in black and white. Sometimes if you've been given 2 options, it's a fantastic way to get the pros and cons of one thing and the pros and cons of another, because that's what computers are very, very good at, is taking away gray areas. But it also can translate anything into plain language. So again, it's a fantastic for that. And you can also practice difficult conversations with it. So, you can say, how do I tell my grandkids X, or what would be a good way for me to say this, or what would be a good way for me to write this? And again, it's very, very good at that. So you'll notice I haven't been saying it's good to get diagnosis, or it's good to get this and it's good to get that. It's more about it supports you and supports your thought process rather than giving you direct advice. Okay. So use it to get ready, not to decide, not to make decisions. Use it as a sounding board and to dig that little bit deeper. So Scott, there we go. And obviously, like with all things on the internet, we do have to be careful. Okay, so if you are using AI, be it, like I said, be it Copilot, be it ChatGPT, or the myriad of AIs out there, try your hardest, or I would say never, put in any of your personal details. So your name, your date of birth, NHS number, hospital number, anything like that. Because companies do store whatever you put up onto an AI. The AI learns, and the way that it learns is by keeping this data in the background. So its searches and its answers get faster and faster and faster. by keeping all of this background data in its memory logs. So don't put any personal or identifiable data onto any AI search engine. Please don't put photos of your stoma or wound up onto any AI and say what's going on here. There we are, and again, lots of companies are looking into AI for diagnosing skin conditions. I know dermatology are very big into it at the moment, and they're looking into it. And you've got people with lots and lots of letters after their name building these, but none of them are fit for purpose as yet. Okay, so please don't put any. If you got a concern about your skin or anything like that, it's best to email your stoma nurse or the guys at Charter, as Karen said, and they'll be able to support you with that and speaking to a human. Okay, so like I said, any personal identifiable details or any information about other people. So, and like I said, public AI stores whatever you give it. So please, please, please be very, very careful about any information that you share. And if it asks for personal information, just close it down, because it's just not worth it. Okay. Scott, next. There we go. So thinking about you guys, so when we talk about helpful uses when somebody's living with a stoma and AI and utilizing AI in that, and lots of these, the helpful aspects are lots of things that I've already said. So, you know, it can explain medical terms in plain language. It can support you in drafting questions and making a list of potential questions that you might want to ask your stoma nurse or your diabetic nurse or any healthcare professional like that. And again, it's a fantastic way to find lifestyle and travel tips. And you'll notice here that it's tips. It's not advice. It's not saying do this, do that. It should be giving you tips, hints and tips. But again, with something like that, you've got the fantastic UA website, which will give you all of those anyway. But sometimes it's nice just to be able to collate all those different information from different areas, and that's what AI can do. And again, translating information for your better understanding. Okay. And again, it's very risky if you're doing it with the stoma, is uploading images for advice, like I've already said. Asking AI to pick products or doses of anything. So please don't. That is what your healthcare professional is for. That is what your doctor or nurse is for, not AI. And acting on any AI suggestions without checking. So if we kind of go back to the helpful bit and where it says find lifestyle and travel tips, yeah, get those. But then the perfect place would be to take those tips and potentially talk them through with your stoma nurse, or talk them through with people on the UA forums and say, you know, AI has told me this. Has anybody else tried it? Does this work? So you get it as a starter for 10, but then you dig into it yourself. Okay. So it can be helpful, but it can also be risky as well. So Scott, do you want to jump for me? Fantastic. And so there's 3 very, very, very easy steps that you can take when you were talking about AI safety. Okay. So the first one is pause. So before you act, just pause and kind of take a deep breath, and then potentially compare it. So compare it with the UA, compare it with the NHS website, all those sorts of things. So compare it with a trusted source. So AI could give you a very broad kind of overview of a topic. But then once you kind of dig down into that, there might be little bits that you'll go, actually, that sounds really good. Let me double check it. And that's the confirm part. Okay, so confirming any information that you really kind of or things you want to action with the human before you make that change. You know, the likes of me and Karen and all the other nurses and doctors out there, we have had years of training, and we can take in a lot of as much information as that AI does as quickly, and we can almost make as fast the decisions and give you that advice as quick as AI does, because that is what we're here for. But what we can do is we can lean on years of experience and education. Okay, so like I said, you know, once you've got those questions and those tips from AI, just go apply to me. You know, AI suggested why is that safe for somebody in my situation? What would you recommend instead of Z? So can you see how you're using it to build your knowledge, but not act on that? What you're doing is you're building your knowledge to confirm it with an actual human being at the other end. Okay, Scott? And there we go. So final thoughts, and you'll never guess that this is my last slide. So AI, as it says here, can be helpful when used wisely. However, it can be harmful when used alone. Okay, so AI is not here to replace the people who care for you. It is here to support them and to give you better access to information. And in the NHS, we use AI all the time. You know, lots of scans now go through, you know, people who are having scans for cancer diagnosis and that sort of thing. Lots of them go through an AI program, as well as being seen by a radiologist, because more and more AI are picking up tiny cancers which would almost be normally missed by a human, but because it's a computer, it can look at it that much closer and actually pick up things that potentially wouldn't have been picked up at that point. But they are always double checked with a radiologist. And lots of your appointments and those sorts of things, they're all managed by AI now. There's an AI program sitting in the back to make sure that things happen in the most appropriate way. So use it with curiosity. Don't stay away from it, because it's part of our lives now. So it's best to be on the crest of the wave than having the wave crash over you. So yeah, by all means, have a little look, have a play, see what comes up. So be curious with it. But on that same topic, do that with caution. Okay. But do it confidently with caution. Okay. And always bring that human professional, so that healthcare professional, be it nurse, doctor, pharmacist, physiotherapy, back into the conversation to make sure that you always get the advice that best suits you, your condition, and your needs as well. And by utilizing all three of those, so you, your knowledge, your experience, AI, and your healthcare professional, I can guarantee that you'll have a much better experience and you won't get your fingers burnt with using AI. Thank you very, very much. That's me done.